Welcome back for the next section on angles. We are still in the angles module. So if we go to that section and flip through what we've already done, remember we already did this part, and I'm not sure where my protractor went. It was supposed to still be there, but that's okay. We are up to the next page, and again, you'll see my notes here. Please just ignore those. That's just to help me remember what needs to go in this slot. Okay, the next thing I need to tell you about is what is called complements. So let me give you the vocabulary word. You need to know how to spell this. It is different than the other complement that you've maybe heard. If someone says, "Oh, you look very nice today," that is a compliment. But that compliment is spelled differently. That compliment is spelled with an I right there. So if someone says you look very nice today, that is this kind of compliment. We are looking at a mathematical complement. So complement or complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So I want you to get an image in your mind of what 90 degrees looks like from our last video. And remember, in the last video I showed you how to draw with a straight edge your rays that make the angle. It's important that you use a straight edge. That's why I gave you graph paper. So this is a perfectly lovely 90-degree angle. It is exactly straight up and straight out. So 90 degrees, perfect. And I'm going to go ahead and mark that with my symbol for 90 degrees. So what if I came in here with a third ray? So let me draw that one right through here. Okay, so this is my third ray. And let's suppose that I actually used my protractor. I'm not going to because it takes a little bit of time. But suppose I did use the protractor and I found out that this was 30 degrees. So this part of the picture is 30 degrees. How could you find that part? Well, hopefully, after I show you, you will see that I could say 90 minus 30, and you can use a calculator if you need to, but that is 60 degrees. So maybe this part is 60 degrees. So we would say that 60 degrees and 30 degrees are complementary, or they are complements of each other. And the math is pretty simple. It's just subtraction if you need to find a missing angle. Complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. Okay, let's talk about supplementary angles. So you have to remember complement. You have to remember supplement or supplementary angles. And those add up to 180. So let's draw ourselves a straight angle. Remember, a straight angle is just a straight line because the rays are coming together at this vertex. And there's that one and that one. So those two rays make 180. So what if I bring a third ray in here? And let's let it be this one. And I'm just going to estimate that that is about 65 degrees. I don't know. I'm not good at that. But okay, so remember, a supplement is 180 degrees. It's half a circle. So if this much were to be 65 degrees, we need to find the other side. And how would we do that? Well, the math again is fairly simple. We would say the 180 for the whole thing minus the green part, and that's 65, sorry, not 60. And you can definitely do this on a calculator, or you can do it in your head. $115 degrees for the supplement of 65. So we would say that 65 degrees and 115 degrees are supplementary. Okay. When I was in school, I had a little bit of trouble remembering the difference. I knew they were both, I had a general idea of what they were saying, but so this is how I remembered it. I sometimes got the two confused. So I remembered that complement adds up to a corner, and both of those start with C. And then supplements goes with a straight line, and both of those start with an S. So that may help you if you have trouble keeping these two terms separate from each other. It helped me, but I had some weird ways of doing things. So if that helps, that's one way to keep those straight. Complementary or complementary, and supplementary. Okay, let's talk about vertical angles. And in order to tell you about vertical angles, I need to tell you a couple of new words. Or do I want to do this at this point? Actually, yes, I do. Okay, so let me take out this. I may not get there for now, but we'll see. I want you to think with me for just a second about this picture. And you can draw this picture with me. Go ahead and draw yourself a nice straight angle. Okay, and let's put the vertex in there. Let's draw another straight angle that comes through that same point. And I want you to think just a second about being out on the road, driving or walking or biking. What would you call this point? If you're driving a car on one of these two roads and you come to this point, what is that point called? You may see a stop sign at the intersection. So these lines are called intersecting lines. Intersection is just a place where two straight lines cross. Okay. So the vertex becomes the point of intersection on these angles. And I'm going to move that. I wrote that in the wrong place. Well, let's try this. Let's just erase it and move it that way. So this is called an intersection, or these are intersecting lines. Okay. Now I'm going to put a circle here, and you can do that too if you want to, just to show you a key point about this intersection. And I didn't get my circle exactly right, but that's okay. If you have some colored pencils, this is a really good time to use those. Go ahead and color this blue section, or whatever color you want, and color the one across from it blue also. So you see that sort of looks like a bow tie. And then let's color this a different color. And this one across from it also a different color. So with any one of these intersections, you're going to have two bow ties. I've got the blue bow tie and the yellow bow tie. Okay, here is a key term. Vertical angles are opposite or across from each other. So let's suppose that I call this angle A and this angle B. So we would say that A is vertical to B and C is vertical to D. These vertical angles will be the same color or the same bow tie, if you're thinking of it in that analogy. Vertical angles. So I've given you two new terms here. We have intersecting lines, and then we have vertical angles. So vertical angles are in the same bow tie. The other word that I need to tell you, the vocabulary word, is adjacent angles. And these angles are side by side. They're touching. They share a side. So I could tell you by looking at this picture that A is adjacent to C. A blue and a yellow make up adjacent angles. So for adjacent angles, we're looking at half of each bow tie. A is adjacent to C, D is adjacent to B. Any two that share a side are adjacent angles. I don't think this is going to be terribly important, but it could be. They could use these terms, and if you don't know what they mean, it's going to be tough. If you look back at complements and supplements, you're looking at adjacent angles. In the complement, the yellow and the pink are adjacent. In the supplement, the green and the orange are adjacent. They're touching. Bow ties, the same color of bow ties, those are vertical angles. Okay, so I know there's a lot there. That's it. We've got a lot of definitions in geometry. So complementary angles, that was a term. Supplementary angles, that's a term. All of these are important terms to know. Okay, moving on. I need to show you about parallel and perpendicular. And let's take this out. We'll deal with this in just a second. Another term is parallel. So let me see if I can give you a story about parallel. Parallel lines. Think of the interstate where you have an eastbound lane and a westbound lane. So here's the eastbound and here's the westbound. So on this particular example, traffic's going this way for one and this way for the other. So this is one-way traffic, but that doesn't matter. What I'm interested in are those two lines, or two rays in this case. They don't touch, and they're an equal distance apart. So those lines are parallel. And if this is eastbound and this is westbound, you could say that E is parallel to W, meaning they're a separate distance apart and they will never touch. So parallel lines look like that. Perpendicular lines, and that's a tough word to say. Let me spell it for you, and that may help a little. It's a tough word to spell, too. Perpendicular. These lines do touch. They intersect. But they intersect in a very specific way. And let me show you. So you draw this one. Okay. To be perpendicular, it has to cross exactly at 90-degree angles. Okay. Just because they cross doesn't mean they're perpendicular. Perpendicular has to intersect at 90 degrees. So in all of this, I could draw the little boxes because I have 4 of those 90-degree angles. This is perpendicular. Parallel and perpendicular. And I'll give you the symbol for perpendicular too. Let's say that this is line A and this is line B. So we would say that A is perpendicular to B. Parallel and perpendicular. Okay, so what happens? Let's zoom in here and build a problem. Let's draw a horizontal line. And let's draw a second one parallel to that one. And I'm just going to copy the one I did. So mine are exactly the same. Well, maybe not. There we go. So I have a parallel line. Give some space. Two lines that are parallel. And then I'm going to change colors, maybe with this nice red, and draw a third line across these two. And that line has a name. This red line is called a trans. Trans means to cross. A transversal. So the red line is the transversal. And on these intersections, let's go ahead and draw those in. I like to see points, and I'll show you why. Because as soon as I see those points, my eye sort of starts to see bow ties. So what if I make a circle right here, and a circle right here? Let me take that one out for a minute. Let's focus just on this one right here. So I'm going to zoom in right there. And suppose they tell me on my test that this yellow angle, actually this time I'm going to give you the bigger one. Let's go the other way. So let me go ahead and color it. And you don't have to color, but it helps me to see. And hopefully it will help you to see. There's a blue bow tie, and here's a yellow bow tie. And suppose on the test they tell me that this blue section is worth about 100, let's keep the math simple. Let's do 140 degrees on this blue one. So here's the neat thing. if that blue side is 140, so is this one. So vertical angles are equal. If half the bow tie is 140, the other half is 140. Otherwise, the bow tie wouldn't look right. It would be bigger on one side. So vertical angles are equal. The question is, how much is that? Okay. And there are a couple of ways that you can do this. This is the way I prefer. I like to just look at part of my problem. So just this top part for just a minute. We're just going to focus on half of the problem. Okay, I know the black line is a straight line. That's 180 degrees. Okay, if I subtract 140, so let's take out the blue part, that leaves me with 40 degrees for the yellow. So that has allowed me to find the yellow part. And if that yellow part is 40, this yellow part is 40. So you can check yourself by adding up the two blues and the two yellows. So we have two, let me not do that. We have 140. Sure we do. 140 plus 140, that's 280. Use your calculator if you need to. 280 plus 40 more plus 40 more equals 360, which is one full circle. That's a very good thing. This is the yellow part, the yellow part, the blue part, and the blue part. And it all adds up to 360. Here's the cool thing. Once you know that one, you know this one, because they're on the same transversal. So once you know that the blue and the blue are 140, and here's a bow tie. Well, I'm trying to make one. It won't let me. So there's 140, 140. Oh, I'm on the shape tool, that's why. 140 and 140. And then our yellow ones, remember we found that with some simple subtraction. But there's the yellow bow tie. Those are 40, 40. So any one of these on this transversal would match. It would be the same kind of thing. So again, the black lines are parallel lines. The red line is a transversal. And this is a very common test question. You see this on a lot of math tests. So it's a handy thing to know. Okay, I will see you in the next video where we'll talk about some triangles, some trigonometry, and then we will be finished with the first module of this course. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.